welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm
Jessica
New Clemens, and this is
Rockstars.
our breakdown of the first 2 episodes of your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that premiered.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Amazing Fantasy. Do I have it on my shirt today? No, it's not on my shirt today. Let me just play it. Let me play it.
Disney Plus, a 2-episode premiere. Marvel Studios' first Spider-Man show created by Craig of the Creek's Jeff Trammell, aesthetically inspired by the 60s Steve Ditko Spider-Man. This series is just super fun, and it has a lot of ground to cover and introduce a lot of characters from the comics. So let's go through the first 2 episodes scene by scene to look at all the details and Easter eggs you might have missed. But first, of course, make sure to check out the latest and greatest at nerdride.shop, where you can find everything that you need for your little nerdy hearts. While we're on the subject right now, we have your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man gear. If you want to get some shirts of his little homemade outfit, you can go get that out. If you want some adjacent Spider-Man gear, check out the Daredevil Born Again merch. We're back in Queens. We're back in Hell's Kitchen. If you're in New York, you need this merch. If you're on the East Coast, you need this merch.
Oh my god, that Goblin jersey she's wearing is fire.
Go check out nerdride.shop. It's the greatest way to support the channel and also just, look fly as hell while doing it. All right, now let's get into it. Episode 1 is titled Amazing Fantasy. Amazing Fantasy, once titled Amazing Adult Fantasy, is a series of comics written by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and acted like a fantasy anthology series that also debuted Peter Parker's Spider-Man in the...
Wait. Alright. Alright. Alright, my boys.
Amazing Fantasy number 15 that released in 1962. We open in Queens, and this right here might be the event. Number 15.
That shit was $3.90. Whoa. Them niggas upcharged like a motherfucker, bro. Look at how much this shit cost on my shirt. 12 cents. It cost $4 on this. Yo.
That released in 1962. We open in Queens, and this right here might be the Avengers Tower in the distance. It has the same lip for the landing pad. As we know, the Avengers are in this universe, or this reality, and we'll get into it in a little bit. Peter wakes up to Aunt May yelling for him, and on his face is Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
Fantasy, Amazing Fantasy. I saw this too, and I was like, holy shit.
1962's Amazing Adult Fantasy. This is specifically Beware of the Giants, a story about a young boy wandering too far from home and running into scary giants. On Peter's nightstand, he has a book on grammar and presidents, but he's also currently reading White Fang. White Fang by Jack London is about a wolf dog's journey in the Yukon and Northwest Territories during the 1890s Klondike Gold Rush, but mainly it's from the dog's perspective. It's a lot more than that, but I tend not to relate to books that are frequently on high school required reading lists. Why? Because I simply cannot read. It also was adapted into a Disney film starring young Ethan Hawke, if you've seen that. Still, Stan Lee ran Marvel classic comics from 1976 to 1978, which were comic adaptations of literary classics like Moby Dick and Jekyll and Hyde. They also ran one for White Fang, which was released in 1978. This Peter is
and it
adorable,
had the spider
and I
logo
love
on
his
it.
extreme White Fang, which was released in 1978.
Holy fuck.
This Peter is
why I love
adorable,
New Rockstars
and I
breakdowns.
love his extremely cracked phone. He's so effortlessly a teenager. This Peter is voiced by Hudson Thames, who also was the voice of Spider-Man in What If. He runs through the apartment late, and we pass Aunt May, voiced by Carrie Walgren. Later in Aunt May's car, she has a little Iron Man figurine hanging from the mirror.
Are we gonna talk about the fact that like that man had Dan's on, and then Norman Osborn's car had like 3 diamonds on it instead of 4 rings like an Audi? I said that shit in my main channel video, by the way, so yeah, go watch that shit.
In this universe, we have the Avengers along with Iron Man. We have Captain America as pictured in the 2nd episode within Oscorp. However, we learn that we don't have a Strange when Doctor Strange shows up and Peter questions the magical wizard guy. I think it's interesting because we probably just haven't met Steven yet. We've seen the Civil War battle in the latest featurette, and to confirm if this takes place around then, later we'll see a Bluefin 2 breakdown poster, and it says 2016 at the bottom. Doctor Strange got into his accident early 2016, and by the fall he was meeting the Ancient One, so during Civil War he was kind of MIA until Infinity War. However, as a reminder, this isn't our 616 universe. This Strange, if he exists in this universe, could be continuing being a surgeon. Maybe his sister never died and he's just not a doctor. The possibilities are endless, but at one point after the Sokovia Accords, the story of this reality diverts from the one that we're used to. When Peter and Aunt May talk about the school and Peter's excitement, he says this:
I need to know how they do this so fast. Like, when did this come out? 5 days ago. January 29th. This came out the day the damn show aired. How do y'all do this? How do y'all watch both episodes, find all of these fucking details, record it, edit it, and get it out in the same fucking day? Yo!
This.
And it'll be nice.
These niggas are great.
Have something to distract from everything else that's been going on.
If you notice, May's ring shimmers right there, and it's not hard to deduce that maybe this is post Uncle Ben's death. A canon event to which the Spider-Verse refers to it, but this is definitely after Uncle Ben dies. We make it to Midtown High. Midtown High, as some may know, has been featured across different Spidey realities for a really long time. It's in the comics, it's in the movies, and now Marvel Studios' animated show. A green portal opens as Peter steps out of
High like a real place? Like a real high school? Because I know obviously Midtown is real.
The car, and you know it's Doctor Strange by the fiery sling ring rim, and it looks really good.
I'm gonna look it up.
Outlands a version of Venom, one with claws and horns, with a hairy mane or maybe a hairy back. He kind of looks like Kraven's figure or Sabretooth. Jeff Trammell mentioned in the Marvel podcast they wanted to take different takes on classic characters. This is why I think they created a what-if version where Doctor Strange hunts Venom, maybe for sport, or in his reality, it's just similar to Jumanji. We're saved by Doctor Strange, voiced by Robin Atkin Downs, and when Strange arrives, we get the Doctor Strange theme music composed by the king himself, Michael Giacchino.
Where do you think you're going?
While everyone is distracted by the fight, as you would be too, a little web falls from the portal, a web with a spider. Up until now, we've seen so many Spidey origins, or at least you know where they're coming from. It's a boy from New York City, highly intelligent, gets bit by a spider. At this moment, each Spider-Man diverts from the standard narrative. So Andrew Garfield is bit on a field trip, right? Miles Morales underground by the wrong spider, and now this magical spider that has traveled through Strange's portal has bit this Spider-Man. They all have similar journeys, but different
She was like,
paths.
damn, my name's not that bad.
Then saving Nico Minoru, voiced by Grace Song, and Nico, you may remember from The Runaways. Her first appearance was actually in Runaways issue #1, created by Brian K. Vaughan and Adrian Althona. This shot then cuts to a split screen and separates for a close-up of the spider on Peter's neck, and this is truly what they wanted, a moving comic book. A comic book brought to life. This Spider-Man disappears into this...
JanSport. Y'all can't tell me this isn't JanSport. Y'all cannot tell me that's not JanSport, y'all. What the fuck? Y'all can't tell me that's not JanSport. Look. Look at that. It's like they have all of these like brands, but they don't put like the actual brand so they avoid having to pay royalties. I fucking love that detail about the show, and I said that in the main video, in the main channel video.
Backpack picked up by someone else, and Peter, get up! Get that backpack back! You know that scene is gonna play out later in the future. Who got? And
I actually missed that.
This Spider-Man disappears
completely
into this backpack picked up by someone else. And Peter, get up! Get that backpack back! You know that scene is gonna play out later in the future. Who got that spider? Then we get this awesome intro that I know.
Oof, bro. The theme song is so fucking good, bro. It's so fucking good. I love it.
The team behind the scenes is just so proud of. The song played is Neighbor Like Me, which is performed by the Math Club and included the classic theme song from the 1960 Spider-Man series. And what a great little, I just love it.
You probably know how tall you are. You
My boy!
probably know your shoe size, your weight, and a whole bunch of other numbers you need from time to time. But what's your credit score? Do you know it? If so, are you?
I am disappointed. You show your face only to show an ad.
Transitions through its own genre as Peter's DNA alters with the rhythm. Our boy has his own comic book, The Origin of Spider-Man, and the art follows his debut in Amazing Fantasy. The first page offers this black silhouette of Spider-Man and his web on the yellow backdrop. We see him then making his web shooter. So these ones are like organic webs, like Tobey Maguire's.
I went and got the what is it, Marvel Ultimate Comics subscription, and I read that the Amazing Fantasy comic, the first ever appearance of Spider-Man.
They don't come out of his butt. Next to
and
that,
I also read his first Spider-Man comic too.
He'll appear later in episode 2 in a really small cameo, but he's also appeared as an Easter egg in Spider-Man No Way Home. He's also featured in the Spider-Man debut comic I mentioned earlier, and Spider-Man is wearing a similar outfit in that comic as well. We see his homemade suit being prepared. Every Spidey has an infamous Mach 1 suit that's serving real Home Depot realness. The majority of Marvel comics feature a value stamp on the letter page of every title, or more commonly, a corner box that tells you it's a Marvel comic right away. Here we see a lot of versions of Spider-Man's corner boxes, and if not to remind you, the show is a living, breathing comic book itself. From left to right, the first in yellow is cut off from the edge of the screen. This is Kirby's original design for Spider-Man. Then we see our Spidey. Then we get a greened out Spidey, and I assume this is the big time stealth suit that first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man issue number 650. The next is a splice between two of the Slinger's comic Spidey suits. This issue came out in the 1990s when Black Marvel gave 4 of Peter Parker's costumes costumes to some younger people and named them the Slingers. It's a splice of the Prodigy suit and the Hornet suit. And then I think we see another Slinger comic suit. This is Dusk. This purple one looks like a Zemo Spider-Man, a Baron Zemo Spider-Man. I can't really figure it out which specific one it might be, so get at me in the comments if you know. Same with this gray one. The green or yellowish one feels like a version of the Stealth suit or the Night Monkey suit, and so does the purple Zemo looking suit. This looks like the classic Ben Reilly suit by the eyes and pattern, but a little modded with the wider spider symbol on the back. This resembles our MCU homemade spider suit, the one that Tom Holland made. And I assume most, if not all of these, are different reality Peters because the cells in the background shows a short-haired Aunt May. And maybe we just haven't seen her yet with short hair. Maybe she'll get short hair throughout the series, but right now I think that's a different version Aunt May. Similar to the 60s cartoon intro, we have a similar shot of the Spidey web overlaid on the city's outline. What's also very similar is the Spider-Man shows in color. They made a color scheme of magenta and a lot of cyan, similar to the intro's magenta, yellow, and cyan here. We end with the corner box for our new Spider-Man and its cover, which is so fun, and mirrors Spider-Man's debut comic cover where he's swinging in the same direction, pose holding someone. So then we jump a few months later, still late, but this time hanging upside down, still reading White Fang as you can see, still bumping into people and now things, and still missing the train. Later we meet the coach, and it's credited as Coach Grayfield, and Phil Grayfield was a super football player hero from the comics. His story is actually very weird. He knocked over a bunch of like chemicals, and that combined with this indestructible merch turned him into a superhero. He was featured in the NFL Super Pro Special Edition released in 1991. We see the Spidey suit officially, this big clunky web shooters, a hockey jersey, and joggers. The drip is very, honestly, immaculate. And I tried to kind of do it today, so I'm gonna stand up to let you see it. Well, this is
that shit fire,
this is my version of the hockey jersey, and I'm wearing orange joggers. Honestly, I love that outfit choice. It's very cartoony, but it really is a good look if you actually think about it. Spider-Man promptly finds himself in a battle with 3 bullies. One of the bullies is named Stevie Sherman, and Steve Sherman was a longtime assistant to Jack Kirby who unfortunately passed away not long ago in 2021 at 72. As he streams on the phone, we see names for Jay Wilcox, Hot Dogger, and Hippie Hamster. Jay Wilcox could be the colorist for Marvel, John Wilcox, who worked on some Spider-Man issues. I also like how they recognize him as the newest Avenger, Trash Man. Later, we'll see additional names like the Omega Toaster who says, "Kick his ass, Seabass," a line from Dumb and Dumber. There's also a comment shamelessly plugging themselves, and it's Screwball, the world's first live vlogging supervillain. She first appeared in 2008's Amazing Spider-Man.
I hate her. I was just about to mention this fucking mission right here, bro. I hate her.
There's also Cookie Mane, which I assume is a play off Pokimane and Cookie, who sells her own brand of cookies now, and I haven't seen a single nice review about them since Kai Cenat ate them, so I don't know if they're good. Spider-Man also crazily destroys this bully with a brick. I think he might have killed him. It's insane to do that move. Then after beating up these bullies, we learn it's Harry Osborn, voiced by Zeno Robinson. He does the voice of Hawks in My Hero Academia. We're then at Rockford Bales High School. Peter's sneaking into class, and this teacher right here is Miss Eberhardt, named after Dana Vasquez Eberhardt, the VP of animation at Marvel. We see Peter has a crush, and her name is Pearl, and she's voiced by Kathy.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. You made his love interest not Mary Jane.
Aang. She's Marvel's comics' first Filipina superhero, and in the comics, this is Wave. She can control water. She debuted in 2019's War of the Realms: New Agents of Atlas #1.
Look at Luna Star. I said Star. Look at Luna Snow. Look at Luna Snow.
And in the comics, before she gets her power, she's actually a competitive swimmer. And in the series, she's also a competitive swimmer. Lincoln reminds her to have practice and to remember her goggles later in the episode. Immediately, I clocked him, and I know the internet did too now. We get Zach Cherry. You know this actor. They appeared in Shang-Chi on the bus filming on their phone, but they also appeared in
I wasn't tripping. I thought he looked just like him.
Spider-Man Homecoming as the hot dog vendor. You remember, he's the one that says, "Don't flip!"
Or, yeah, that.
They're trying to stop the car before it slams into the bus, and the driver actually looks like Your Friendly Neighborhood's director, Mel Zywer. I don't know if this is true or not, but it does look a little similar.
Are we gonna see
and it wouldn't surprise me because all of these extra characters in the show have so much character, they're probably based off people that work behind the scenes. Pearl ended up with Lonnie Lincoln, captain of the football team.
Also known as Tombstone.
Lonnie Lincoln is also the name of Tombstone, another classic Spidey villain originating from the comics. We've seen him in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. He's one of Kingpin's goons. Also, please, don't kill Lonnie and don't make him a bad character. He's so sweet. We watched Lincoln go home, and okay.
Oh, yeah. The racism. Yeah.
This old lady is offensive. She can get lost. This is where the neighborhood from the
Yeah, the racism. I talked about this in the main channel video too. Yeah.
Title comes into play. Spider-Man is as important as his neighborhood. He's nothing without his community. That's the whole thing. Wonderball mentioned this on the Marvel podcast and added Jeff Trammell, the show creator who also created Craig of the Creek, a show that features so many extra characters. It's essential to have different perspectives and reflections of what makes Spider-Man's neighborhood.
Oh my God, he has Adidas on. I didn't even notice that.
It's essential to have.
It's 2 stripes.
Different perspectives and reflections of what makes Spider-Man's neighborhood, and we're seeing it here with where Lincoln comes from. It's not safe, and he comes from a rougher part, which aligns with Tombstone and the comics, so this might be Harlem. On the table at Lonnie's home is a newspaper for the Daily Bugle, and I like that they still keep the trumpet logo. The Daily Bugle is a fictional newspaper we see in Spider-Man all the time. It's also where Spidey sometimes works. Spider returns money to the pizza store owner after someone stole it from the register, and this man playing the pizza shop owner is OG Banks, who is also the voice of Luke Cage in Ultimate Spider-Man. He plays Luke Cage across a lot of actual Marvel properties. After dumpster diving into some new electronics, Alt J's
W Ultimate Spider-Man. Here comes the Audi.
Playing.
Yup. 3 diamonds instead of 4 circles, 4 rings. Think about it. Oh, also, I don't know if y'all noticed, but in that car chase scene with the van, there were some Connecticut plates.
Haven't heard the song in so long. And when Peter gets home, Aunt May is talking with none other than Norman Osborn, voiced by Coleman Domingo. And when Peter gets home, Aunt May is talking with none other than Norman Osborn, voiced by.
This nigga was in the show that I just watched. He was in this show that I just watched. Guys, I said this in the, if y'all watch the gaming channel videos, I said this while I was playing Call of Duty. This show was fucking crazy, and I absolutely love it. But it's the same nigga, bro. This is crazy. This is crazy.
Coleman Domingo, and the swagger on this character is immaculate. The sequence is how Tom Holland's Peter
if
Parker
you go back and watch that
Civil
chase scene, bro, if you go back and watch that chase scene, you're gonna see Connecticut plates.
War too. The outro gives us more snippets of Peter's comics in the show, what might be different styles from Peter's designs. We get different angles of Norman Osborn, different angles of Doctor Strange, Harry, Aunt May, and Lincoln. Then we end with our family neighborhood Spider-Man logo. Episode 2 is titled The Parker Luck. Now, seen as Peter Parker is actually pretty unlucky in the comics, they referred to his series of unfortunate events as the Parker Luck. This Parker is actually pretty unlucky in the comics. They referred to his series of unfortunate events as the Parker Luck. This often refers to all the tragedies Peter suffers due to being Spider-Man. And we get the new Spider-Man cover for this episode with Oscorp in the background. After meeting Norman face to face, he looks at Peter's certificate of excellence. This recognition is proudly presented to Peter Parker for achievements in science and math, awarded from Stark Junior Science Fair on May 22nd, 2014. As we saw in the last episode.
Wait. Here we go.
With the car ornament, Tony is an inspiration to Peter, and he has an award from Tony's Junior Science Fair signed by Hannah Morales, the event organizer, and Murad Nesser, the judge. The event coordinator's last name, Morales, makes us think of, Miles Morales, but I don't think we've seen Morales with the name Hannah before, and in the comics and in the Spider-Verse movies, Miles' mom is known as Rio. Nico mentions how shady Norman Osborn is later and says you'll find his bunker full of gold and plutonium.
Which is crazy.
If you remember, Jeff
took her name in the newer in Across the Spider-Verse. Now his name is Jeff Morales instead of Jefferson Davis.
Spider-Man 2, that's what the Rhino hijacked from Oscorp in the beginning. Then Nico mentions Rockstars. This energy company has been involved in shady things in the Marvel Universe since the 70s when they first appeared in a Captain America comic. Their name is based on Exxon, which the comic writer says is part of Marvel's policy of referencing the real world, but one step removed. Once at Oscorp, this guard's name is Jay Gallo, who in the comics is Johnny Gallo, aka Ricochet. He's a mutant with the super strong legs who can jump off walls or ricochet about. The Ricochet identity.
Ew, fuck mutants. Nah, just kidding.
Was actually first created by Peter Parker at a time when Spider-Man was wanted for murder. This is the comic I referenced when breaking down the intro. These are the Slingers. To keep acting as a superhero, Peter made up the costumed identities and masqueraded as all of them. They were Prodigy, Ricochet, Dusk, and Hornet. Then later, the costumes were given to 4 new heroes who formed the superhero team, the Slingers, and Gallo was part of that team. His popped collar we see later is a nod to that comic appearance. We meet the other interns. This is Jean Foucault, aka Finesse in the comics. When Norman Osborn rose to power, he tortured a group of young.
Hold on.
Jean Foucault, aka finesse in the comics. When Norman Osborn rose to power, he tortured a group of young superpowered people, expanding their powers and studying them. Jean, however, was the only one who agreed to work for Norman Osborn. After Osborn lost his power, they were tutored by the Avengers and formed the Avengers Academy. In the comics, she was super intelligent, so it makes sense she's a scientist here, and like Taskmaster, she was able to replicate any physical act after only seeing it once. Then we
I just realized they never talked about the this thing right here. This scene right here is said to be the same scene from, what is it, No Way Home? Or Homecoming? It's supposed to be like the same scene. Oh, let me see if I can find it. It's not showing anymore. Yeah, see right here. It's the scene of the car hitting the bus. I can't believe they didn't touch on that. Right here, look. This is such a bad quality image, but like it's the same thing. Huh.
The rest. Asha from Wakanda. She had a small appearance in the comics where she was part of the Wakandan School of Alternative Studies, Wakanda's metahuman school. She has the power to manipulate light and can turn invisible or blind opponents. She wears beads, which might be the technologically advanced Kimoyo beads we've seen in the MCU. Amadeus from the Lower East Side. In the comics, Amadeus Cho replaces Banner as the Hulk and loved his powers. He was also able to keep his intelligence in his Hulk form.
Asian Hulk?
And generally speaking, had a lot more fun with it than Banner did. Like Asha and Jean, he's also pretty smart, so it makes sense why he's here. He's also the son of Helen Cho in the comics, who we met in Age of Ultron. We meet Dr. Whitman, voiced by Paul F. Tompkins, aka Mr. Peanut Butter. This is actually Bentley Whitman, aka the Wizard. In the comics, he has no superpowers, but is a strange magician and genius who creates gadgets that simulate powers. Whitman sarcastically also calls Peter Hawkeye, so he's likely established at this point in the universe as well. Carla Connors then shows up, and she chooses to work with Peter in the Energy Research Division. As you can see, she's missing an arm, so Carla is primed to become this universe's version of the Lizard. There might be a hint at this where we see a terrarium in the back. It might be the habitat for a lizard. They're working on a sustaining battery of sorts similar to the Stark arc reactor, which is the tech Stark uses to power the Iron Man suit. Later, when they're watching TV, we see a cameo by Crusher Hogan. As I mentioned, he appeared in the 1960s when Peter wrestled him for cash as a fledgling Spider-Man. We also see Harry Osborn at an event featuring and likely one of Time's 100 most influential people list, and then we see a fire has broken out. Later, the subtitles call this man Butane. He was an incredibly minor villain from the comics. I love how he just volunteers exactly why he's here. I think that's a villain thing to do, but also a very stupid thing to do. And I wonder who the developers could be. Roxxon, perhaps? As mentioned earlier, there's a comic miniseries by Crystal Gage, drawn by Eric Gaster, that ties in with the show and shows you some in-between moments. There's a first issue and a second issue, which I think you can get right now. The first issue featured Don Silvio Manfredi, aka
Whoa.
There's a first issue and a second issue, which
Nigga, I could just buy the comics and read what's about to happen? Oh, this is a prequel, though.
think you can get right now. The first issue featured Don Silvio Manfredi, aka Silvermane, who has been setting buildings on fire to get the land, so he might be appearing
prequel to get the fucking context while you watch the show.
Later in the show and revealed as the arson hirer. Later, Peter is summoned to Norman's office and we think it's bad news. Inside, Osborn has photos of himself with Captain America because he's classy. I also like how you see Peter's phone crack even more, which is probably due to him being Spider-Man now. This is also when it's revealed that Norman knows Peter as Spider-Man, and oh,
what a fucking bozo, bro. Why would you change in the fucking hallway? The stairwell, I mean.
No, how does he know that? Because you changed in a stairwell where there's
what a fucking idiot.
Cameras. Peter, so dumb. And then we close
literally with bro, that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen any Peter Parker do ever.
End credits, and this 2-episode premiere was great. I think this Spider-Man series is ramping up to genuinely be really fun, and I'm having a great time watching and can't wait to keep breaking them down here with my best friend and hero, Noah Chen. Follow me at Lulu_Clemens. Subscribe to all 3 channels in the new Rockstars network for breakdowns and news. Episode 1 is titled Amazing.
Okay, I need to find
Fantasy. Amazing Fantasy 1.
The Connecticut plates now.